Mounteer, and I did my esports project on Overwatch. So first things first, a little game background. The game developers of Overwatch is Blizzard Entertainment. They have made other games like Diablo, uh, World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, and a few others that I can't fully remember because they're too obscure. The game genre of it is a first-person user shooter, meaning you're playing in the eyes of your character, and you have to select your character that has certain abilities and skills that others do not. Platform play you can play these games play Overwatch on is PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, S and S, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Surprisingly. Now, a brief history of the game. Overwatch 1 was first released May 24th, 2016 to PC, PS4, Xbox X. Then July 19th, 2016, they got their first additional hero to be added after launch, which was Ana, the support player, or support healer, I should say. December 6th, 2017 was the first season of the Overwatch League, which is its esports series, which we'll talk about a little bit later. That is when that starts. November 1st, 2019, 2 years after that, Overwatch 2, the sequel to Overwatch 1, is announced with both a PvP and PvE, which I will talk about a little bit later. Then, about over a year, or a little under a year later, April 14th, 2020, Echo is added, the DPS, which is Overwatch 1's last character to be added for the release of Overwatch 2. Then on October 4th, 2022, Overwatch 2 is released on PS4, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, Switch, and PC, and has been ongoing currently with 14 seasons of 15th right around the corner. Game details and numbers. So the player size 6v6 and 5v5. The reason why the order is Overwatch 1 was a 6v6. Overwatch 2 is a 5v5 hero shooter. Now, that's a little speculative. They may change it back to 6v6. There's been talks about that recently, but nothing has been committed yet. Now, for standard game modes and for both standard play and competitive, is Control, Escort, Flashpoint, which is only in Overwatch 2, Hybrid, Push, also Overwatch 2, same with Clash, and then Assault, which is actually only in Overwatch 1 and has not been put into Overwatch 2 yet. Now, overall player count, it has a little asterisk because we don't know the official numbers of this, only estimates because Blizzard has not released them. Overwatch 1, the estimate of their peak is about 35 million players at its peak. And then in Overwatch 2, currently, their peak is 26 million. And current estimated players right now is about 6 million. Now, I do not believe these numbers at all. I will explain that a little bit later, but that's just due to the current state of the game. Now, with Steam, since you can play it through Steam, we do have official numbers for that. They only peaked ever at 75K with a current, whenever I put this down, 20,000, but I just checked right before recording, and that is only at barely 19,000, which is much closer to probably where it is at on across all of the platforms. Definitely a little bit higher, but not by much. Now, overall viewer count, Overwatch only peaked at one instance with 1,459,000. Current, not possible because, servers are down. And then Overwatch 2 peaked at 634,000, which I feel like is a little bit higher. But that is the number I found. And then the current, at that point of writing, it was 13,000. I also don't believe that. I think that one's a little bit lower since Steam only has 20,000 playing right now. Now we are going to talk about the gameplay. The goal of the game, completing whatever objective is for the mode you're playing. So, for example, in the image below, they are playing the payload mode in competitive, and their goal is to get it to the final objective, which in this case, so that they can win the match, you have to get it to that little orange-yellow X on the ground. And then how the game is played. In the pre-game lobby, you're selecting your character. That really depends on who you know how to play. Personally, I mainly played Reinhardt, Pharah, and Zenyatta. Those are my three favorite. Additionally, it is based off your teammates' characters and who they play. A lot of characters work well together, more so than others. A lot of that is also to be counting towards the meta. What characters are better? What characters are worse? And how they should be handled. Now, during the game, is a lot of communication, a lot of saying where enemies are, that you need healing, what's your ultimate at, which I'll explain shortly. And a lot of it is also counterpicking, having to, after that first push, a lot of people counterpick to the enemy's team so that they have the advantage. And there's also the ultimates. It's the ability that every character has that can usually turn the tide in your team's favor to help you win the game. Now we're going to talk about the esports scene. This is a very weird and interesting story. So it first was announced 2016, I think shortly after launch. It was founded in 2017, and then their first season, like I said earlier, was in 2017. They had 12 original teams to start. Then after the first season, they added 8 new franchises to follow. Um, but during the COVID pandemics in 2020, that caused the scrapping of in-person events almost entirely and moving everything online, which caused some concerns with money since they didn't know if they were able to get the proper funding. But they argued they'll save costs because they won't be having it in person. So that led to less and less even after the pandemic ended. Now during 2021, Blizzard got into some legal troubles, and that caused the Overwatch League to almost lose every sponsor they had, which then caused, it starting to fall. Then in November of 2022, Blizzard and NetEast, I believe Chinese service company, I believe, their partnership had fell out, and Overwatch 2 had been banned in China due to the result, which continued the spiral, and they had lost their first team since the creation of the league, which that just caused the league to nosedive down to the ground because in January the remaining teams initiated a bargaining process which resulted in more teams leaving, and in January of 2024 announcing out of nowhere they were changing the Overwatch esports scene to Overwatch Champion Series. This was announced January 23rd, 2024, and with their first major in May of 2024 and then the first finals in November of 2024. I have no idea how this really turned out well. It turned out well enough because they're having another Champion Series this year that started last month. I wanted to look more into that, but I have no idea truly how this worked. But essentially, it started with, I believe, max of 537 teams that then were all put together and fought for 16 qualifying teams to be put into 4 groups. Then those 4 groups went to head to head, and then the top 2 from each group advanced into the main event, which I believe is finals, and then that is what determined the winner of the Champion Series. Now, I kind of wanted to say my current thoughts of the game. It's not in a good state. I have been playing Overwatch since about launch back in 2016, and I've just seen it fall and fall and fall and fall. Very poor balancing issues to the point where if you are not playing what is meta, you either will get yelled at by your teammates or your team will just not win. You will sometimes quite literally have to play the same characters as your team because they're probably going meta as well. And if you don't, you will lose. A lot of unkept promises. Like I said at the start, they had announced Overwatch 2 that both have PvE and PvP. That PvE, it was supposed to be a whole story mode, completely got scrapped like shortly after launch. It wasn't on launch. They kept saying, we're bringing it. They did not. It got scrapped. We only got 4 missions, and that was it. Constant monetary pushes. Overwatch 2 is whole based off of Battle Pass and buying mythic skins that are $80 and weapon skins that are $40 that you don't even get to fully see in its full extent. Although with a low player count, it is not well played. It is barely even talked about compared to its peak back in 2017, 2018. And then personally, there are better hero shooters out there. Marvel Rivals is so good. It reminds me of peak Overwatch. And I think it has the ability to be better than peak Overwatch and will possibly get there pretty soon. So that is about it. Thank you.